hand warm-ups and wrist stretches before and after. So I'm just going to lead you through some quick little like go-to wrist like and hand warm-up stretches. If you want to follow along and use these in your own practice, you can do it before and after. I think you'll find that if you do, especially the warm-ups beforehand, the drawing might flow a little bit easier. It might feel like your hands are a little less stiff. And then also making sure to get like the stretching and stuff is going to be more healthy for your long-term wrists and shoulder potential artist issues that we all get. So let's do this. If you come to stream, these might look pretty familiar. So to start out, I warm up my hands by doing squeezes, and a lot of these I learned from pole dance actually, but I just have found that they really help me out with my drawing as well. So I squeeze, 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 and I'm really like trying to squeeze, like I'm squeezing a washcloth or dough or something. I'm really trying to engage those fingers. We're trying to warm up all these little muscles in our hands. We don't have to go on for too long. And then the next one I do is I make fists, and then I tilt my wrists like this. So it's like the little nya paws. That's what I call them anyway, is nya paws. Okay, and so there should be a little stretch happening in the back of your wrist, and then maybe a little bit less of a stretch happening up here, but definitely I feel it in the back of my wrist. I also feel it a little in my forearm. Okay, and then the next one I do, and you have to be very gentle with this one sometimes, so if it's too much, just make it smaller. But I interlace my fingers, and then I create little like figure eights in my wrist, and this is supposed to just help loosen up the wrist a little bit. Again, don't go too fast or too crazy with this one, especially if you feel any like clicking or anything. Then just back off. Make them smaller if you need to. The point is just to get a little bit of motion in there. And then since we already have our hands interlaced, I keep them interlaced and I do roller coaster arms. So getting that nice stretch in the wrists, or in the fingers and the wrists. Oh, I'm pretty stiff in my forearm. I feel that stretch. Roller coaster arms. And you can reverse your roller coasters. Okay. Okay, and then from here, so that was mainly focusing on like our fingers and wrists, which are very important, but also just our general posture is pretty important. So other stretches I like to do are definitely like shoulder stretches. So I like to do some big shoulder rolls backwards, just loosening up. Yeah, if I were starting all over as an artist, I would definitely try and remember to incorporate more of these sorts of stretches and warm-ups, because, you know, doing a lot of drawing can be really hard on your body. People don't realize that, but I mean, it's like anything. When you're stuck in any one position doing repetitive motions, it's just really hard on your body and your joints. And yes, after years of doing that, your body might get a little upset. So, okay, let's reverse our circles. And then if you want to warm up the shoulders more, so that was kind of a good stretch, but if you want to warm them up, you can do smaller circles. This will really like fire up more of the muscles. We won't do that right now. But something else I would do is some nice, just gentle neck stretches to the side. And you can kind of like tilt your head a little bit to find like the tight spots. You can even kind of push on this muscle, giving it a little like mini massage. And then gently chin to chest. And roll to the other side and do the same thing. And I am like reaching this opposite hand down. Reaching so that we get that nice stretch. Another way to do this one is if you're sitting on a chair, instead of just reaching down, you can grab the bottom of the chair and then stretch. So that will just anchor your hand and your arm, and you'll get even more of a stretch on the side of your neck. Okay. So there's a lot of there's a lot more stretches and stuff that you can do, but those are some basic ones. A lot of times we get really tight in the forearms from doing art. I do anyway, and that over time can kind of squeeze all these like bones together, and it makes them very unhappy. So something you can do if you have like a therapy ball is you can kind of dig in with the therapy ball. You can roll it on your desk, all along your forearm. If you have a smaller rubber bouncy ball, you can give your hand actually a little massage. Just roll it up through and in between kind of all of these areas. That's really nice. And then sometimes even just squeezing the forearm. So the way that I do this, I'm going to bring the desk down. Wow, this is getting longer than I was thinking, but you know, the tutorial is what would I do if I was starting from square one again, knowing what I know now, and I think this is very important. Since the forearm can get really tight, there's a couple ways you can kind of compress it that helps. So one way that I like to do it is I will just, if you can see, although it is kind of difficult, I will actually like put my arm under my knee, and then I will come forward and squeeze my arm, like basically in my knee. So my leg is squeezing my forearm. So sometimes I do this, that's kind of nice. It just compresses the forearm and helps release that muscle. Another way to do this is if you put your arm on the floor, you can use your shin to kind of roll it out as if it's like a foam roller, kind of. I just put my shin on and add some weight. Sometimes I will rock back and forth just a little bit, or side to side. Okay, so those are some things that I think are pretty important to include in your art practice, just to try and keep your body, you know, a bit more fluid, limber, especially if you are going to be practicing a lot of drawing and repetitive motion and like sitting while you're doing it. We want to do what we can to make it so that we can do this for a long time. So that's why we do stretches and warm-ups, and you know, there's more and more you can do, but there's a place to start. Okay, editing Krissa out.